Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and welcome to What I Do for a Living Part 2. Now, if you didn't know, I make faux rock, artificial rock for a living. And some people may ask, well, why don't you just hire a bunch of stonemasons to put a rock there? Why don't you just put a rock there? Well, if you do that, you're not going to get a natural rock formation. It gets people to wonder, how did you get this rock here? Like, did you just buy a property with this sort of stuff here? And the answer is no. We made it. It's man-made. Now, what I'm pointing out right there is called ghost holes. And basically it's where water erosion has caused a bunch of rounded looking stuff, rounded textures and stuff like that. Pretty smooth usually, and usually kind of looks like what you'd see inside of an Alien or Aliens movie. Really cool. Now, sandstone usually comes out with strata. Every stone does, but most especially sandstone, which strata basically means layers, a lot of layers, and they're very obvious. Now, what I pointed out there is a discolored section. That was a patch job, and those sorts of discolorations go away once we color it, and I point out a little ghost hole that I thought was a really nice touch. Now, not everybody on the job is quite as talented, and so that is a section that's going to need to be fixed. I don't. Everyone is competent at the job, but not everybody is necessarily at the same level. And here's an area that I carved. However, it was the day that I injured my hand. And so I have my hand in the cast and all that, so it's not my best work, but it is competent, it is good. I don't really like what I'm looking at right there, but to the left here, it's exemplary. Now, the first ghost holes that I pointed at, I carved a good lion's share out of those. Not these, but at the very beginning of the video. Now, this video is carefully edited, and I've looked through frame by frame through some of the video here just to make sure that I don't include any trade secrets. This is like a very secretive job. I mean, I've already shared you guys a term, ghost holes. You're looking at them right now. Those ones are kind of shotgunned in there. Very small. Sometimes they're dispersed like a shotgun, but you know, they don't necessarily have to. They can go with a strata and stuff. Some terms I won't be defining. Anyways, I carved this area. Now, one of the things that you need to keep in mind with strata is that basically it's really easy to make things predictable and boring, especially when you have areas where you have more than 3 or 4 different strata that are the same thickness. The way to break that up to make it so that it's more visually appearing is the use of depth and breaking little pieces off. So this is true regardless of if you're carving a small sculpture or a gigantic one like me. And yeah, so I'm just kind of showing off some of the breakages that I made in order to make a nice natural effect. More that I carved right here where the strata goes vertical and all that, and I'm really fond of that. Now, some of this video will also include the material and a little bit more of the job from the last video in this series. However, like the reason why is because the previous video kind of sucked. The video quality wasn't very good. I didn't have the camera at the right orientation. Now, this is an area that I framed, and I was critical about how it got meshed, and I carved it and everything. Now, you see that PVC pipe? That's where water is going to billow through, land in a waterfall, and then land off of another waterfall, and where I'm standing is going to be a spillway. And it's going to go right into the swimming pool, which is really nice. Deepest swimming pool I have ever seen. And people will be able to just jump off of that little spillway there. And yeah, right now I'm pointing at something I don't really like. It's a good looking rock, but the strata, the carving on it is just a little bit too smooth, and it kind of breaks the immersion. Now, the direction that I'm heading to, this is another area that I carved a bunch of ghost holes. The framing process is very organic, and there is no floor plan or anything like that. It's just complete and total creative freedom, except for when the boss says that that's too expensive. Now, the only way to make that area make sense was to make ghost holes. Now, especially when there's something that's concave. Now, here's an area that's concave, and you see some ghost holes, but in the upper, I'd say 3/4, it doesn't have any ghost holes. Now, that's fine, because this area right here could be a completely separate area from this other one to the right. The two completely different rocks. Now, you may say, well, I expect to see that there's some sort of line of separation, some sort of joint between the two rocks. But the problem is, the thing is that sandstone actually, when it erodes, it sometimes develops ghost holes, and sometimes erodes the it erodes the joint, the line of separation. So rock formations start bleeding into each other, and so you kind of wonder where one rock begins and one ends. Now, right now, basically, you walk past the spillway, and then you go down the swimming pool and into the shallow end of the pool. And now I go up these stairs. I'm really fond of how these stairs turned out. I did a little bit of the carving, but not very much. Now, this is where I injured myself, right where I pointed, right there. I wound up tripping over that, and I landed right where I'm pointing right now. And now it could have been much worse. I could have rolled and then wound up into the Superman slide, which is a short slide that allows you to fall an additional 5 feet, and then you fall the rest of the way into the pool, which is about 14 feet. So I could have died. But fortunately, all I did was I fractured my hand. Now, I don't get injured on the job very often, and so things are good. I'm a competent worker and all that. Now, everything that you like, 90% of what you see with the carve work, especially, I had a part in, except for this area. I was too busy playing a part with everything else that day. Now, everything by and large in this area looks great. I didn't carve any of it, but this is an area that I think looks really cool because it's hollow. It was framed that way, and I think it turned out looking really nice. Now, at this point, I walk around the pool because the front entrance into the cave is actually blocked off, at least during this portion of the recording. And so I decide to show you some of the unfinished work. We're past the framing stage. We've done more. And it's really dark in here, but hopefully you can see some of it. Now, you can kind of see, I look up several times, and you can kind of see the hint of Gothic arches. Now, right here, what's right there, what I'm pointing at, that is a jacuzzi. And so, this is going to be a really nice little cave to be in. Now, to the right is going to be a fireplace, and we're looking at it any moment now. Yeah, actually, we're looking at it right now. That's the mantle. There's an archway on the top, and we're thinking about putting a statue in the middle of it. And that's the hearth. And so that's the fireplace right there. It's hard to see. I do apologize. It's really dark. Now, I walk into this area right here, which is where the front entrance into the cave is, but I cut to another video because you can't really see anything. So this is an area that I carved. I carved those ghost holes right here, and I carved it just about everything you see. I have another coworker that sometimes comes comes along and touches things up every once in a while, but then again, I do the same thing with their work. But it's nice to have a nice blend of variously different people's styles. Just that way, one section doesn't look like it's made by just one person, and then another section just looks like it's made by another. And but by and large, I carved 99% of what you just saw, and it looks good. And in fact, my boss, I actually like my boss, which most people can't say. Now, he actually came to me and my coworker and said, "That's such a beautiful area." Now, personally, I'm not very fond of the ghost holes that I carved that I'm pointing at, but right there to the left of it are ghost holes made by one of the other coworkers, and he reliably makes some exemplary ghost holes. Now, what you're looking at is what's going to be a climbing wall. You'll be able to climb up, and if you fall into the pool. And so there you can see the spillway, how it's going to spill into the pool. Now, this is the previous job. Some of this stuff you guys have already seen, but you guys will be able to see it in better resolution and such like that. And also the job site's a lot cleaner. Now this is inside of the sauna, and actually I've kind of changed my mind about the sauna. It was blistering hot inside of that sauna. Now all this I carved and everything, and that's with there not being any equipment inside of the sauna. Just me being in that sauna. It was rather warm, and so I'm a firm believer that this'll work. One thing that I like about the carving that I did down there is because it's basically that when I'm allowed to use the tools that I prefer. Now, I'm not really allowed to tell you what tools I was using, but when I'm allowed to use the tools that I prefer, and I basically have 100% say as to how it's going to look from the very beginning, and then I just carve, and it just winds up looking so much better. And here you're just looking at the Gothic arches inside of this cave right here, which is, of course, the sauna, like I've said before. And the owner wanted it to look like a bunch of Knights Templars decided to just build structural supports in there and use it as a sauna. Now, that's a throne, and it's masked off because we didn't want to get it dirty or anything like that. But we needed it in there, and so we put it in and all that good stuff. Now, in the last video, I also did a lot of camera movement and all that, and it wound up kind of spoiling the video. And so I tried to move a lot slower in this one, where you're able to just have a good look at these dragons, because it's so cool to look at. And just being next to these faux rock, whether it's a gigantic sculpture of dragons, or whether it's just a gigantic rock or a cave, or having one in your backyard, it's an awesome experience. And there's multiple times where we've actually had I carved that dragon specifically and helped frame it. Anyways, so yeah, we've actually had neighbors actually have competitions to see who can have the coolest backyard. And it's awesome because, like, right after we're done working on one job, we work in the next door neighbor's backyard, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got some cooler ideas. They're way cooler." And we don't care, as long as we get to make something awesome. You know, and sometimes we just bounce back and forth between neighbors to see which neighbor can outdo the other, kind of keeping up with the Joneses sort of thing. I don't really understand the mentality, but I think it's funny, and yeah, this dragon was carved by one of my coworkers, and I think it turned out really well. And now I just want to kind of show you the dragons, just the little hint of the dragons that you can see as you come into the backyard. The owner wanted it to be a magical experience as they walk into the backyard. Now, of course, it'd be nice if the pumps and stuff for the pool wasn't quite there, because as you're basically walking into the backyard, you hear a lot of pool equipment going off. But, you know, there's only some things that we can do. Now, that stonemasonry there is applied with the same technique as everything else that we do. Now, I am a stonemason, and so when people say, well, why don't you just get a stonemason? That's another response I give. I am a stonemason, so it doesn't really matter, because I approve of this technique. I'm actually a third-generation stonemason. So, my grandpa, he was a stonemason. My father is a stonemason. My uncle is a stonemason, and they all live locally except for my grandpa. He died. But anyway, so just the size and scale of this job is pretty impressive in and of itself. And so here I go into the hidden cave, which most people don't even see while they're walking into the backyard, but while walking from the backyard to the front yard, they can actually see it. Now, this area is inspired by the Sistine Chapel, and that's why you're able to look up and you're able to see some stuff that's just absolutely amazing. Once again, as stated in my previous video, all the painting was conducted by and painted by Bob Simmons, who was a Disney animator. I believe he worked on Aladdin and a few other projects with Disney. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways. I put a lot of effort into this and these videos and everything. And if you guys would like to check out any of my other videos, please feel free to click on any of the videos that are appearing on the screen right now. Thank you.